Let's start with this background. You providing us background information about substance abuse. As a trained psychologist, I want us to talk about the psychological dimension to this and then the impact on the family setting.
Well, I'd just like to start by saying that to all our listeners and viewers, no drug is going to leave you the same. If it doesn't take something away from you, it's going to add something to you. Because whether you like it or not, any substance, be it licit or illicit, will either affect the structure or the function of the body system. So when we're now talking about psychoactive substance now, it will affect the way you think, the way you feel, and the way one behaves. And psychologically, addiction is a chronic brain system disorder, whether we like it or not. And then it involves reward, motivation, and memory. And so let me just give a very simple example. When you are hungry, then you look for food. There's something that food does to you. It's pleasurable. Once you take it, then somehow the hunger is quenched. But for somebody who is hooked on substance, they would always go out for it the same way. With addiction, there's that repeated involvement, even when they know there is a pain that comes from it. So, people have different reasons for getting involved in these substances, as we may have discussed earlier. But now, to talk about the psychological impacts, there are so many of them, especially amongst the young people. The moment somebody begins to take any form of substance, you will notice apathy. That's loss of interest, and especially pleasurable activities. They are no longer interested in their studies, therefore their grades begin to decline. And of course, there's always conduct behavior for somebody who is hooked on any form of substance. There's hostility, there's aggression, and of course, anxiety, and equally depression, which has become the buzzword now. The substance can make you anxious. It can, at the same time, make one depressed. And of course, there's impaired learning and then psychomotor skills. For a lot of people, a lot of young persons who use substance, they want to use it as a getaway. It's two ways. There are lots of challenges in the land. And some young persons just want to take the substance to numb themselves. They just want to slip away such that they are not affected by whatever is happening around them. And there are some persons who use it for Dutch courage. People have lost the strength, the zeal, the ability to do just about anything. So for Dutch courage, a courage that doesn't exist anywhere, they will want to take substance, either to get bold. Some people use it to prepare for examinations. Some people even use it to fight or terrorize whoever is terrorizing them, as much as they also use it to just get away from their troubles. I remember back in the days, we used to sing a particular song, I'm walking away from the troubles in my life. I'm walking away, find a better place. So for a lot of young people that take these substances, they're trying to use the substance to find a better place. They tell you, as soon as I take it, I get into a sudden, soothing space where I get to forget all my problems. Somebody will tell me I get so high, I engaged a young man in the clinic who, after taking some form of substance, destroyed majority of the cars on the streets. And I said, so while you took this substance, what happened to you? He said, I felt so high, like a Superman. My height increased and I saw the cars on the street like toys. So he took an hammer. I wanted to break all the toys on the street, and it was damaging very expensive cars on the street until the police came to arrest him. So the thing is there, is staring us in the face. And that's why it is important that the family, in fact, the family is the first line of nurture and the last line of defense. So to every family we should begin to educate our words on the danger that is associated with substance intake. In fact, as early as the age of onset, that's about, people say age of onset for substance abuse is age 10. So even before then, parents should begin to expose their children to the negative effects of substance. Like I said earlier, there is no drug, there's no substance that will leave you the same. If it doesn't take something away from you, it's going to add something to you. Thank you very much, Femi.
All right. So, how can a family stage intervention for a loved one who's been involved in drug abuse? After education, or perhaps there was no education, you find maybe a mother, father finds that their child is involved. How do they go about it?
Okay, thank you very much. The moment you realize that a child is involved in substance use, the first thing the parents should think of is care. Care. Many a times parents panic, or some get disappointed, or some don't even know what to do. The first thing they should think of is care. How do we provide what is necessary to take care of this person? And that care will first come from the place of love. Do not hate the abuser. Like I tell parents, every child is well created, well born. Many a time it is the environment that has caused whatever it is that is going on with them. So rather than getting unnecessarily worked up and being destroyed or feeling like a failure that you haven't trained this child well, the first thing is care. Love that child. Connect with them. And I tell parents, if you don't connect, you cannot correct. So for every child that has suffered from some form of neglect, when the parents now realize that there's this challenge of substance use, you realize that the children are not even ready to listen to anything. They will tell me, even while I was doing well, they were never there for me. So now that it's all gone bad, can they do anything really? So first, parents should connect with their children. If we cannot connect, we cannot correct. If we connect and care and pay more attention to our children, we'll probably notice some of these circumstances before they become really debilitating. And so if it has happened and you are struggling and you cannot handle it, the best thing is to call for help. Usually people will call their pastors or their imam, and there are certain, pastors or people of faith. In fact, there are faith-based organizations who have understanding of these things, but not all have. For pastors who are not trained along that line, they will refer you to people. Those who have been trained to handle such cases. There are addiction specialists in Nigeria. There are substance use therapists, people who can help. So, and the care I'm talking about now, away from even trying to help the person out, their personal hygiene, their eating habits, ensuring that they find a safe place in the home. Don't push the child out of the house. I tell you, the moment you tell that child to get out of your house, the predators, those who introduce them to the substances, they are waiting in the wings to receive them. So many times parents will shout, oh, you're getting out of this house, you're moving out. Moving out to where? To the streets? Because whether you like it or not, the World Health Organization recently said something about 90% of children living in street life circumstances worldwide, have suffered from some form of this abuse or the other. And when you look at these young persons, majority of them, the society has failed in taking care of them. So for parents, care is important. And then even in the caring, supervision, modeling, and monitoring. And I say this many a times when people are faced with these challenges, the person who is under the influence of this substance do not have an insight into their problem. You realize that they are beginning to neglect themselves. They may not have their bath. They do not care. They smell. And sometimes the way they look, they aren't seeing it. Is the family members who will perceive that. So we need to pay attention to them. And for most parents, parenting should be very intentional. If you are not ready to pay attention and to raise children, there's no point getting ahead and having them. And our society should stop looking at people who don't have children as if, there's something in the waters for them. Let people have children when they are ready to do so, because parenting is a big deal. Gone are the days where communal parenting is common. In our days, if you do something wrong on the street, somebody will beat you on the street, and then you get home, your parents will still beat you. But today, you see your neighbor's son smoking, even if you talk, it becomes a problem. So everybody is just on their own, unfortunately. But I'm suggesting that communal parenting, you do something bad outside, and these people should still be able to tell. I think we need to continue to do that. And there are a lot of rehabilitation centers by faith-based organizations. Like for me, the organization that I belong to, we have a faith-based initiative that we do, and that's the Nigerian Anglican War Against Drug Abuse and Addiction. Is in the front burner, and within every diocese, the campaign is going on. And there are those who even need help out of it. They are not speaking out. So we're creating awareness. Welfareism is going on, and there are care homes being established in here and there about so many religious organizations to take care of such people. But we need to continue to speak more, especially religious leaders with integrity should speak and do more on the topic. Because despite with all the challenges in our country, Nigeria, people will gather in worship centers. What do we tell them? As much as we preach the message of hope and peace, let us also tell people about the negative impact of substance use. Thank you very much.
Right, that's great. Now let's look at you were almost moving in that direction. Let's look at the spiritual dimension to this, or the religious perception about the use of substance or addiction. There are people who believe that addiction is spiritual and then should be approached that way, solution, or seek for spiritual solutions. I would like to have your take on that, knowing that fully well that you're a pastor. What has been your experience, and what would be your admonition to people as regards handling victims of substance abuses?
Thank you so very much. You're very right. For a good number of people will come to me and will say, oh, this child has actually started taking some form of substance. And the first thing is, my enemies have gotten me. The people who couldn't get me, they have gotten me through my children. And that way they want to go really spiritual. For me as a pastor, I tell people I believe in medication and I believe in ministration. Taking some form of medication that will help you does not stop you from praying. You can pray. It is not a problem. Prayer can help you find the right therapist. And you can pray for the therapist to be able to do their job very well in that manner. But whatever it is to be done, I encourage people, if you have prayed and you have fasted, then you need to begin to look at the medical side of things. There are times that the person who is suffering from substance use disorder will need medication. Let it be properly assessed. If the assessment is done, whatever it is that is going on, usually the substance abuse could happen, substance use disorder could happen as a result of imbalance in the level of brain chemicals. And then when there's an imbalance in the level of brain chemicals, you will need another drug to be able to balance it. So assessment must be properly done, and it goes along with prayers. I'm not going to say, oh, don't pray, do not do this. Yeah, fine. You can go ahead and continue to pray for change. But while you check medically, they say doctors will care. It is only God who cures. But we must never take away the medical side of it, because God has given us all the plants, for our consumption. And majority of these, the medicines that we take, they are made from plants created by God. So when we put them together in the right proportion, we made it into those drugs in doses. So that way, people can get well. And then there's something that is so common in our country, Nigeria. People take medication for, for recreational purposes. People take substances for recreational purposes rather than therapeutic purposes. People will just want to indulge. There's this pleasure-seeking behavior. People will look for every means to seek pleasure. Like they say it in Yoruba, afe shaye, afe jaye. People see it as pleasure by just downing several bottles and forgetting about your sorrow without asking yourself the impact or the effect of what that will have on you. Everybody should try as much as possible to take care of themselves. What you eat, what you drink, like let your food be your medicine and let your medicine be your food. Even scripturally for the children of Israel, the scripture told them the things that they are supposed to eat: fruits, vegetables. These are things that are good for our brain. Like I tell people, if you have the opportunity to choose any form of fruits, banana is good for your brain. In the present Nigeria, a lot of people are affected psychologically. If you can't think appropriately, if you don't have a good head on your shoulder, there is no way you are going to be able to, to surmount the myriads of problems and challenges that we have. And I tell people, one day Nigeria is going to get better. But after it gets better, there'll be a lot of people, there may be the next pandemic, may be issues concerning mental health, maybe issues concerning substance use disorder, and such people may just never recover to enjoy the goodies that will come in future. Because I have hope for Nigeria. And that message of hope is what we should continue to preach. Because at the end of the day, when the positive things begin to happen, how many of us will stay healthy? The scripture says, I wish above all things that thou may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So everybody take care of yourself, pay attention to yourself. If you pay attention to your health, you will hear your body whisper. And is whispering, you do the necessary things before your body begin to scream. And please do not neglect yourself. The moment you discover something little, you feel things are not right, go ahead and seek necessary help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Anything that happens, people go to Google. If Google can't answer the question, seek help from professionals.